Hello, Dr. Jimmy here again. It's time for me to start talking about the events of Halloween Horror Nights 18, Reflections of Fear. This 2008 was a landmark year in many ways for Halloween Horror Nights. I know an awful lot of people for whom this was the most favorite year in memory. I know a lot of people who didn't like some things about it as well, but it seems to me this was a particular fan favorite in the past few years. Once again, it was 23 nights long, the same amount of nights as it was the year before. Once again, there were 3 shows and 8 houses, but there were more scare zones than there were in 2007. I've seen some places say it was the more scare zones than ever before. I'm not completely sure about that, but it was certainly more scare zones, or more scare zone space at Universal Studios Florida, I think, than ever before. I think that's correct. I think about 2005, where all of Islands of Adventure was pretty much one big scare zone, except for that one bit of Seuss Landing. Hello, Bob. There's a bobcat here. You see her little ears right there. Little cat ear. Yeah, there she is. Cat. Kitty face. Kitty face. That's it. Show the kitty face. Yes. The reflections of cat. But anyway, it's digressing from the feline interruption here. A little bit of Seuss Landing, which was just fog and occasional Grinch activity, but really not used. But otherwise, every other place you walk through was a scare zone in 2005, so I'm not quite sure if more scare zone than ever really is as accurate as the official, but that was the official line. And they also said more characters were cast than ever before, and that actually was true. So we had all of that, and it was quite an interesting year for lots and lots of reasons. It was the year I really got involved in Halloween Horror Nights fandom online and all that. I mean, I'd been a member of the Vault since the year before, 2007, but things happened in 2008 that got me more involved with than just posting online. I got involved in person in the way, because that was the year that I met an awful lot of people from the Vault and other places, because that was the year the interactivity really went wild. The interactive game from 2005 was nothing compared to what went on in 2008. It really made an awful lot of friendships that continue to this day were forged at Halloween Horror Nights 18. It was a pretty awesome year in many, many ways, I have to say that. And there are other things that made the year quite interesting and spectacular. And one of the things that happened quite early in the year, see, it was May 2008. Some bright lad, who shall go nameless, but his name is Chad, suddenly realized something rather, obvious that no one had ever thought about before. We live in a state called Florida, the Sunshine State, and we have something called sunshine laws. What that means is that any state official documents are open to the public for scrutiny. Oh my goodness. Yes, they are. You can go see what the government is doing, anything that they're doing. If you want to see any work permit for anything that's being built or done, you can go down to the office where they're issued, and you can have them pulled up and go through them. You don't need a warrant or anything. And Chad realized that, and so he took his little self over to the office in Orlando that issues the work permits for Universal Studios Florida in May of 2008, and pulled them out and looked at them. In fact, you can look at them online. I understand that's not. You can pull them and all sorts of things. Lo and behold, what did he see? 8 permits for temporary attractions for Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios in 2008. 8 haunted houses, and there they were. And Universal hadn't thought that anyone would do this. And so what did he see on them? The names of all 8 houses, just about. Yes, he looked and he saw, oh, I see, in Soundstage 20, Body Collectors 2. Oh, Soundstage 20, Interstellar Terror. Soundstage 22, Creatures. In the Disaster Overflow queue area, Doomsday. In the Jaws queue area, Bloody Mary House. In Building B79, Scary Tales 3. In Sprung Tent, The Hallow. In another Sprung Tent, Dead Exposure. So, with the exception of Body Tales Collections of the Past, and Scary Tales The Nightmare Continues, and Reflections of Fear, he got the actual names of 5 of the houses, the actual finalized names, and he got a very good idea what the other 3 houses were, because it was the sequel to Body Collectors from 2005, Body Collectors 2, the sequel to Scary Tales from 2001, and Scary Tales 2 from 2002, called Scary Tales 3, and Bloody Mary House, which is obviously has something to do with that urban myth about Bloody Mary. That's what that seemed to be the logical assumption. And so this is the information that he got, and he posted it online at the premiere at the time, Halloween Horror Nights fan site, which was the late lamented HHN Vault. Now, Dr. Freak kind of freaked. It was like, oh shit, when this happened. Now, he seriously considered shutting the vault down and posted about it on his MySpace page. That this was really upsetting to him, and he was seriously contemplating actually shutting down the vault completely. Well, he didn't shut the vault down completely at that time. It did eventually disappear, although some remnants of the vault are still online. You can hear Julie Andrews, or is it Mary Martin singing, you know, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. I haven't quite figured out whether it's the original cast Broadway recording or the motion picture. I think it's the Broadway, but I might be wrong. But enough of that. But at the time, in 2008, the Vault was the place for any online speculating and talking about Halloween Horror Nights. It was the big site, and I had joined it just the previous September, and we were all quite excited to read this. Now we knew what the houses were, and we started speculating right away. We'd already been speculating, but now, oh yeah, now we have an idea. There's going to be a sequel to Body Collectors. We knew that now. There's going to be a sequel to Scary Tales. We'll have more of that sort of thing. And that's going to be in B79, which we found out was the Parade Building, a large warehouse-like structure located out behind Kid Zone, where the Mardi Gras floats were stored. And so this was going to be used for a new haunted house, and we thought, gee, that's a big place. That might be as awesome as a soundstage. That's really a neat place to have a haunted house. Ooh, what's that going to be like? And so we knew about that. And we could only guess about the other ones. Now, Brian, known as CD at the Vault, had already suggested, even before the names revealed, I believe, that Doomsday, the motion picture, was going to be a house at Halloween Horror Nights 18. He said this because the previous year, Dead Silence, had been a house at Halloween Horror Nights 17. And it was the same pattern. You had Rogue Pictures, which at that time was a division of Universal, put out a horror-themed movie, and it was, you know, in theaters, and then it was released in the summer, and then released on DVD just in time for Halloween Horror Nights. in October, and that happened with Dead Silence, and the same pattern was happening with Doomsday. And so he said it was, you know, this is pretty obvious. Doomsday is going to be a house this year. It was to him, it made perfect sense. People scoffed. No, they're not going to adapt that movie with the Mohawks and the cannibals and the motorcycles and the. I mean, you know, what is it? Roadrunner meets Resident Evil in Scotland with bits of with references to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, for Christ's sakes. That's not going to be a haunted house. And yet it seemed to him that this made a lot of sense, and sure enough, it worked. So some of us looked at that Doomsday. Hey, Brian was right. Other people, oh no, Doomsday has to be about Mayan prophecies, or about the end of the world, or about, you know, maybe it's a sequel to Doomsday from 1999. No. Then there was, what does interstellar terror mean? Is that going to be in outer space? Or is it going to be aliens landing on Earth? And, you know, like that what was that? Total Chaos or something? It was some kind of alien abduction house a few years before. Creatures, what could that be? One idea was that it was, you know, frightening creatures like spiders. That was a popular rumor. Spiders, it's going to be spiders. And that freaked a lot of people out who were scared of spiders. And I enjoyed pumping that rumor as much as possible, just because I like getting people freaked out about it, because sometimes I'm an asshole. Not always, but sometimes, you know, I delight in the fact that I could post pictures of spiders on a thread at the vault, and suddenly someone said, "Oh my God, Dr. Jimmy, that's a spider! You scared me." Yeah, I scared you. Then there was something called the Hallow. Now people, oh, is that Sleepy Hollow? That's the Headless Horseman. Well, that was sort of right, but people kept saying it's not spelled the same. You know, Hallow is not spelled the same. And Dead Exposure, what is that? Zombie strippers? You know, what does that mean? Does it mean you're out in the tundra and you're cold? It was all kinds of crazy ideas were flying around what that would mean. There were some people who actually knew exactly what all of this meant, because there was a leak that year. Besides the one that came from looking at the permits. I'm not going to say who got the leak, and I'm not going to say what it was exactly, but I will say that I did not receive this information myself. But there were certain people who knew exactly what the houses were going to be, had seen the artwork, and knew exactly who the icon was going to be and what she looked like, way before anyone else did. For that reason, when speculation started a little bit later, when we got the website, some of the things these people knew that some of the popular ideas just weren't true, and they tried to steer people in that direction. And I caught on to some of this, even though I wasn't in the loop. I caught on to it and said, aha, you guys know something. And so I'm going to go with the people I think know something, and sure enough, I put my money on the right side. Not to say anything bad about the people who guessed wrongly, because some of them are very good, sharp people. It's just that sometimes you pick the wrong idea and guess incorrectly. That can happen to anyone if you don't really know. So, very interesting. So we had all that happen way back in May. So June, the very next month, of course, the old Carnival of Carnage website disappeared, increasing the excitement. Oh, the anticipation that built in the months leading up to Halloween Horror Nights 18 was some of the most exciting suspense and building anticipation that we've ever had for an event. I think since 2005. Probably because of the really nifty website. And in the past couple of years, it hasn't been quite that intense. But my God, was it intense in 2008. One of the things that happened right here was the teaser. It was the same generic teaser that we had a couple of years before. We had that sort of warehouse with all those shelves. The cool thing was now there was a shelf for we could open up for 2007 and take a peek in there. Oh ho, Carnival of Carnage, aha, we can see all about that with an extra video. But what was 2000? But you know, that was the only new thing there. Okay, the clock is ticking rapidly towards 15 minutes, so that wraps this up. So the next one will talk a lot about the website. Until then.